alongside Lucas Alexander, fight on, the great Tim Jordan, our engineer, and look, Matt Nahigian, our fearless leader, all hanging out, all wearing nice little jackets, little coats, some wearing ties, some not. I think it's the first time I've ever seen Lucas Alexander not in flip-flops. But a hell of a job. A lot of interviews, a lot of moving parts. Will and Dibbs crushed it. You can find the entire interviews on YouTube, Twitch, all that. Also, download the Odyssey app, favorite 95.7 The Game. We are streaming everywhere, basically. Twitter, and it's all powered by First NorCal Credit Union. So shout out to those guys. Shout out to all of you listeners who tapped into that and continue to do so here at this hour of the day. Shout out my pre-gamers, 888-957-9570. You know that's the number to call or text. And also, again, hit us up on the YouTube chats. Hit me up on Twitter, at Spadoni_Joe. You can call it X if you want to. But we start today's show with some breaking news. I'm not going to hit the sounder because it's been the talk of the sports world the last hour plus via Jeff Darlington, ESPN. And this was at 3:35 a.m. West Coast time. So, for those of you who don't know, there's a major happening in golf right now at Valhalla Golf Club in Louisville, Kentucky. Kentucky East Coast time. So, about 6:30 East Coast time, Jeff Darlington. World number one, Scotty Scheffler, has been detained by police in handcuffs after a misunderstanding with traffic flow led to his attempt to drive past a police officer into Valhalla Golf Club. The police officer attempted to attach himself to Scheffler's car, and Scheffler then stopped his vehicle at the entrance to Valhalla. The police officer then began to scream at Scheffler to get out of the car. When Scheffler exited the vehicle, the officer shoved Scheffler against the car and immediately placed him in handcuffs. He is now being detained in the back of a police car. Since then, he has obviously gone on to the police station. Just absolute madness to be woken up to. World number one, Scotty Scheffler. For those of you who aren't big golf heads, that don't care about golf, I get it. Hey, it's not NFL, it's not NBA, it's not Major League Baseball. But this is a massive story. This is the best golfer in the world. Maybe not the most, he's not Tiger Woods, but he's putting up Tiger numbers this year. He's won 4 out of 5 PGA events. He won the Masters. Oh, and by the way, in his very first hole yesterday, in the first round of the PGA Championship, got an eagle. He holed it. He's 4 under par. He's 5 off the lead in the first round. So, massive story. They've already delayed the first tee of this PGA Championship second round. So it's been delayed already. It's pouring rain because they keep going to it on ESPN because they're the one that are covering it right now. First couple rounds before CBS takes over. But a crazy and chaotic day in the world of golf. And we're waiting. Is Scheffler going to be disqualified? Which would be nuts. They've already postponed it a little bit. They've already delayed it a little bit to see if it's just a misunderstanding. But from what I'm gathering, from what I've heard from Jeff Darlington, ESPN, amongst others that were there, and Darlington was there. He witnessed the whole thing. You can find the video right now at Jeff Darlington on Twitter of Scheffler being taken away in handcuffs and being detained in the back of a police car in Louisville, Kentucky. But from what we are getting gathered, Scheffler was in one of those courtesy cars they give out to all the golfers. If you've ever been to a sporting event, ever been to a golf event, the golfers generally have a courtesy vehicle to get them to and from their hotel rooms. It's going to be alongside his caddy, I'm sure, was inside there as well. I think that's being reported. And there was a fatality on the road leading into Valhalla Golf Course. Now, that fatality caused a traffic backup. Scheffler, in said traffic, is obviously, he's trying to get to his event. He's trying to practice. His tee time's not for a couple more hours, but these golfers, they like to get there early. They have a routine, breakfast, hit a bunch of balls, chip, putt, whatever. Get there early, like a lot of athletes do. So he's seeing this back up, and he's trying to get around it. He's very close to the entrance of the golf course. He just wants to get in. So tries to go around. Police officers didn't like that. Obviously very tense, I'm sure. Fatality, moods shift. It's not the same old, just traffic jam. There was not a fender bender. No, a life was ended. Very serious things. So Scheffler, though, trying to get around, just trying to get into his work like we've all had to do, right? We've all tried to do that. But I don't know if I'm going around the shoulder. I'm not Scotty Scheffler, though. I'm not going to the PGA. I'm just going to this radio job. I don't think that would have flown. That would have flown on the Bay Bridge, Sammy. Yeah, I was just trying to get around this traffic jam over the Bay Bridge and the tunnel. You don't know who I am? I'm Joe Spadoni. Yeah, I don't care. Get in the back of the car. So that's where we're at right now. Maybe it ends up being a misunderstanding with the traffic flow. But Scotty Scheffler currently detained by police, world number 1 golfer, and we will continue to monitor that situation. Just craziness happening in the world of golf this morning. And no, there is no Tiger Woods involved in it, because we think of some of the biggest stories in golf. What are they? Tiger Woods, basically. Live golf, I guess. But the world number 1 golfer getting arrested on the second round of a major championship? Yeah, I don't think I've heard that before. Pretty crazy. 888-957-9570. Again, we'll monitor the situation. World number 1 golfer, Scotty Scheffler, currently detained by police officers in Louisville, Kentucky. All right. Well, back to the Bay Area sporting scene. Willard and Dibbs yesterday had a plethora of guests, and it was pretty incredible. I did not expect to see, nor did we promote Aldon Smith. And Aldon Smith was an incredible talent. That is undeniable. And his story is one of caution for a lot of young players in the NFL. I mean, here's a guy, as I go Chris Collinsworth, that had Hall of Fame potential. This is a guy who had 19 and a half sacks in a single season. First team All-Pro, was an absolute monster. His rookie year had 14 sacks. It was the Smith bros. You had Justin Smith, you had Aldon Smith. And they were dynamic. Until he wasn't. Why was that? There's a lot of factors. Substance abuse, alcohol abuse, driving while intoxicated, and all that caught up with him, and he missed 4 seasons. Played 4 in San Francisco, played 1 in Oakland, missed 4 years, and then returned to the Dallas Cowboys, and he played all 16 games, started all 16 games, 5 sacks, decent, but he was back in the NFL. It was good to see. Then he was going to sign, right? Was it the Seattle Seahawks, I want to say? And then something else popped up. And I see his mugshot on TMZ, and it's just like, oh boy. This is just not going to end well with Aldon Smith. And I haven't heard from the guy since, until I saw him yesterday when I was scrolling on Twitter, and I saw Alex Smith and him embrace, nice hug. You saw Matt Nahigi in there in the background. If you want to find the video, at 95.7 The Game on Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it. And here's Aldon Smith sitting down with Willard and Dibbs on why telling his story of perseverance is so important to him.
Man, so the Bay Area is home for me. It's dear to my heart. I had a tremendous experience while I was here, and I feel like this is family. And so I just, took that saying of, if I knew then, what I know now, where I would be. And me having the resume on the field and having the experiences off the field combined with, where I am now and being able to translate that into now's language, you know what I mean? And it's like, why would I not do it? And so I'm just excited that I get to have these conversations and be around people and have a chance at this, because this is what it's about for me.
More from Aldon about how he now looks at his journey as a blessing.
I didn't give up. And let me say that. Let me rephrase that. I took advantage of that window of opportunity when you fall. because we all have moments where we fall off track of where we're trying to get to, and you have a decision on either you can keep repeating the same behaviors or you can take a risk and try something new that you're unsure of, but you may have heard it works. And so taking that risk and it paying off is what I'm experiencing now. It's hard for me to summarize it because it's been, for me to answer that with like, yeah, I did this, I did that,
Of course.
It's unrealistic. But to sum it all up, I prioritized myself and really understood what having an honest relationship with myself, what that means. And everything else is kind of just taking place.
Again, Alden Smith there, just very powerful stuff. I mean, listen, I'm rooting for him. I don't root for anyone's downfall. I've had people in my own family struggle with addiction of some sort, struggle with you just always at the wrong place at the wrong time, and I root and I pull for obviously those family members. I want them to succeed in life. And I want that for everyone. Like, I don't want to see Alden Smith on my TMZ headlines, every couple months or once a year or something like that. No one wants that. Because you can hear it in his voice, the sincerity. I don't think he's a bad person. I think he's made bad decisions in his life. Never met the guy. I can only judge from afar. And he's willing to acknowledge his mistakes, and he's willing to try to move past that in any way he can, while also remembering it, like in that being a part of him. And you have to embrace the good with the bad. That's life right there, right? Hey, you're just as much a man of or woman of your mistakes as you are of your successes. For every, promotion you get, maybe you've gotten demoted or fired from a team or whatever walk of life that needs to apply with you. And there's been a lot of adversity thrown at Alden. A lot of that because of his own doing, and he realizes that. So I'm pulling for the guy. It was great to hear from him yesterday. I hope he does well in life, because that's the ultimate game. It's not football. It's not basketball. It's a game of life, and the board game, which is overrated. It's more, if we're talking about a board game that's more actually like life, more like Monopoly, because you want to throw that damn board and you want to break things constantly. That's what life does to you. It's more like the game of Monopoly. Good to hear from him, though. Speaking of the guy he was with, the other Smith, no, not Justin, although it would be nice to hear from Justin. Alex Smith also joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday and talked about his story and sharing his story. So you're sensing a theme here. This Dwight Clark Legacy series is about fighting. It's about persevering. It's about telling a story, trying to inspire others, inspire change. That's what it's all about, and that's what Dwight Clark represented in the game of football, and especially within the 49ers. He is synonymous with the catch, maybe the most iconic play in the history of the sport. Passed away too young, 61. And the 49ers do a tremendous job honoring him and other 49ers that are also trying to better themselves and the community each and every year. And it was refreshing to hear that. And Alex Smith's, especially yesterday, sitting down with Willard and Dibbs, talking about his story.
I mean, I was stuck in a wheelchair, and prognosis wasn't good. They were still talking about cutting off my leg, and I got what was called the Secretary of Defense designation, which means as a civilian, I got deemed to have what's called a warlike injury. So I got access to military medical care. And so I got to go down to the Center for the Intrepids, the name of the center down in San Antonio, where no matter what branch of the military you're in, if you have a severe limb injury, this is where you go to do your rehab. And so one of the cool things about this place is, the military, they believe in this thing called group suck. So you there you do your rehab out all together. It's one big open room. Ronnie and I right next to each other. Most other clinical settings, you go into a back room by yourself with the PT. It's very private. Then you leave, like not there. And again, I couldn't even stand on my leg. I was ashamed of it. I wouldn't unwrap it. I didn't even want to look at it. So I kept it covered. It was grotesque. Man, I went down there. They were servicemen and women, double amputees. Horrible burns. a lot of them with injuries way worse than mine, and man, scars out in the open, and they were moving forward with their life. And again, I felt like I was stuck in the rearview mirror thinking the best of my life was over, and I just couldn't get out all these things I'll never be able to do again, right? Like I'll never be able, you name it, football being one of them, but chasing my kids, going for a walk with my wife, like it's done, it'll never happen. And I was just stuck in this like pity party, right? Like, why me? And you get down there, and again, you don't even feel like you belong. Like, these are literally servicemen and women who have sacrificed life and limb, and they are charging forward. And it was, man, like that example, being next to that, being in proximity of that, it was the first place I ever said out loud that I wanted to try and play football again.
Again, you're going to sense a theme here with some of these. Perseverance, pushing through. That's what life's all about. That's what the game of football is all about. Trying to get ahead. Alex Smith almost lost his leg. How crazy. He almost lost his life. And he came back and played the sport of football. That's incredible. Like, again, a guy that we, and a lot of 49ers fans should, I think, remember more fondly than we do, because Jimmy got to the Super Bowl right. Colin Kaepernick got to a Super Bowl right. Brock Purdy, none of those guys were the first overall pick. Alex Smith was. And again, the burden of expectations on some of these guys is unbelievable. And it's almost kind of the opposite with Brock Purdy. Like, we're expecting him to fail, so people are hoping it happens, so they're proven right. People wanted to be right about Alex Smith. My guy couldn't stay healthy, had like 50,000 different offensive coordinators, different systems constantly, finally got some stability when Jim Harbaugh came to town. Someone that boosted his confidence, because that's what Jim Harbaugh does. He oozes confidence. By the way, Chargers Raiders week 1 at SoFi Stadium. I can't wait. Antonio Pierce, Jim Harbaugh, might be the strongest handshake in the history of coaches' handshakes. But I'm listening to that, and the whole time I'm just like, this guy shouldn't be here. Like, he had to go to a military-grade facility that they tend to injured veterans, current and active military that have been through wars and battles, and my God, we're talking about a football player here, but that's how bad the injury was. I mean, I remember at one point it got like infected, and they had to tear out a bunch of tissue. Like, it was grotesque hearing about all the details, and he felt horrible for the guy. But him to be able to come back and tell that story at the Dwight Clark Legacy Series yesterday, Willard and Dibbs, again, you can find all those interviews at 95.7 The Game on YouTube, on the Odyssey app, wherever you can. Tremendous stuff, very powerful stuff. And speaking of safety in the NFL, right, that's a big thing. We're talking about Aldon Smith almost losing his leg, for God's sakes. The protecting of the quarterback has been a very huge topic of concern. Going back to when Tom Brady got hurt, right? And he was out for the season. By the way, Tom Brady, we'll get to him in a little bit. I'm a little disappointed in Tom. Tom Brady's my guy. Always pulling for him. I'm a little disappointed in him, though. We'll get to that. I feel like my first dad and son moment, and he's, 50 years old almost. But I felt like I was disappointed in my own son when I heard what he had to say. Not going to want to miss that. Alex Smith. Has Roger Goodell done a good job prioritizing safety in the league?
Think about the rule changes in the last 5 years, the things that have been implemented, kickoff change. Like, there's been another one coming in this year with the kickoff change. Obviously, no positions received more protection than what I played, at the quarterback over the last couple of decades. Is it perfect? No, but it's a process. And I think what Ronnie's talking about is to have this kind of committee in place that you're constantly in pursuit of that, right? We've seen helmets get better. A lot of the protection and rules, things changing about it. Roger's also done a great job, though. The pie's gotten a lot bigger under Roger, right? Yeah, and we all like that too as players.
That's the last part. The pie's gotten a lot bigger under Roger. The cheddar, whatever terminology you want to use, the quiche. Yes, that's the bottom line. It rung even more hollow. I'm not trying to pick on Alex here, but prioritizing all the safety. Oh yeah, and by the way, the money. It's been great. Okay. That's the bottom line. We can talk about player safety all we want. Like, these guys are still going out there. I'm convinced. I know they have the concussion protocol, but I see some of these things where I'm just like, I roll my eyes. Like, I see what's going on with Patrick Bailey, and I brought this up earlier in the week with Shasky. Like, Patrick Bailey still having concussion-like symptoms. I don't even know if they have a protocol per se in Major League Baseball, but he had to go out of his way to say, hey, I don't feel good. Like, there's a protocol in the NFL, and some of these guys are back within a couple days. And I understand it. And listen, I'm not trying to break down the science of being a catcher versus being a quarterback and stuff like that. There's different types of hits, different types of impact, a tackle compared to a fastball ricocheting off your helmet. I can't say. But I can say that the NFL players, they're pushing through constantly with that. And there's going to be something sometime down the road. I think this comes to a head. I'm not wishing it on anyone, but I've just seen so many freak injuries, and you can call them freak, and they're not really freak injuries. Maybe I shouldn't use that word because it implies that, there's accidents happen. No, it's a collision sport. These things are supposed to happen. But the DeMar Hamlin situation, that was kind of freaky. The exact same impact at that point of that particular heartbeat with the chest, the helmet, all that sort of stuff. We'd never seen that before. But we have seen concussions and concussion protocol, and that feeling like a joke. Let's just look at Tua Tagovailoa the last couple seasons, right, in Miami. So, has he done a good job prioritizing safety? Maybe for the quarterback, right? For the skilled position players. But like we're taking away the hip drop tackle because, Mark Andrews got hurt. They've been doing that for 100 plus years. Players get hurt. So we can try to prioritize it all we want. The fact of the matter is, and I guess the rat on the table, brought to you by Atco, is this just going to happen? It's going to happen. And by the way, you can now wear those little foam helmets they wear on top of their actual helmets, those extra padding ones. The NFL is going to allow players to wear those this year. And I'm interested to see the amount of players that do that because it makes sense, right? Like, if I'm an offensive or defensive lineman, I'm a running back, hell, I'm a quarterback. Every single quarterback should be wearing that. The only reason they're not going to be wearing those extra paddings is because they don't like the way it looks. Because it looks like you have a mushroom on your head. I was just watching Super Mario last night. He looks like a Toad. That's the only reason you wouldn't wear them. And that's hilarious. Oh, yeah, concussions. It can help me. It can help reduce brain injuries by this many percent. Yeah, but how does it look? That's a thing. It's absolutely a thing. Good morning to all of you. Just getting off work, getting ready for school. It's the pregame show, Joe Spadoni. You got me for the next, 35 minutes or so. We've been talking a lot. We are staying on top of the biggest story in sports right now, which is Scottie Scheffler, world number one golfer, defending Masters champion, shot 4 under first round yesterday at Valhalla Golf Course in Louisville, Kentucky for the PGA Championship. He has been detained by police in handcuffs this morning, about 6:30 local time over in Kentucky, after a misunderstanding with traffic flow that led to his attempt to drive past a police officer into the golf club. The police officer attempted to attach himself to Scheffler's car, and Scheffler then stopped his vehicle at the entrance. The police officer then began to scream at Scheffler to get out of the car, banging on it with his flashlight, yelling expletives. This all via Jeff Darlington of ESPN. When Scheffler exited the vehicle, the officer shoved Scheffler against the car and immediately placed him in handcuffs, now being detained in the back of the police car and has since been driven down to police headquarters, I assume. I think that's goes without saying right now. We haven't seen him, any more pictures of him in front. He got driven away in that Dodge Charger, Challenger, whatever it was. Man, craziness happening in the world of golf this morning at the PGA Championship, and it's pouring rain there right now. They might not even play this morning, so it's going to be even more delayed. It's delayed already because of Scheffler and the weather, and we'll see if it's delayed even more. for that opening tee off there in the second round as Xander Schauffele shot a 9 under yesterday, shot a 62. That should be the story, but it's not anymore, as world number 1 golfer Scottie Scheffler remains detained by the police. More of that, more of your calls, more of your texts, more of Willard and Dibbs' interviews at the Dwight Clark Legacy Series yesterday. Some very fascinating things from Alden Smith, from Alex Smith, and from a Hall of Fame defensive back. That may have been the biggest hitter of all time on the other side on 95.7 The Game on a Phil Collins Friday.
It's Jeep 4x4 season, which means exciting adventures, lasting memories, and finding out what true freedom feels like with great deals on your favorite Jeep brand vehicles. The Grand Cherokee is the most awarded SUV ever, providing adventurers with luxury and comfort on the go, while the trail-rated Wrangler 4x4 will have you taking on the toughest terrains without hesitation. Feel the spark with the innovative 2024 Jeep 4xe lineup. Adventure is just...
Now, back to the pregame show on 95.7 The Game.
Hey, I'm tired.
Oh, come on. Give me the Tiger drop. Oh, man. This Scotty Scheffler thing is just getting even wilder with every not update, but if you're just joining us, it's the pregame show, Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game. Biggest story in the world of sports right now, world number one golfer, Scotty Scheffler, has been arrested by police after he attempted to drive around some traffic this morning, heading into Valhalla Golf Club, again, for the PGA Championship. It's the second round today. Scheffler shot a 4-under yesterday, very first hole, eagles it, just won the Masters. He won 4 of his first 5 PGA events. He's locked in. He's the world number one golfer. He is the best golfer in the world right now. And right now, he is also in an orange jumpsuit. Yeah. Scotty Scheffler's mugshot from Louisville Metropolitan Department of Corrections. Just retweeted it. Follow me at Spadoni_Joe. You can also stream us here on Twitter, all powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Just an absolute crazy story developing right now in the world of sports and in the world of golf. And I get it. Golf, for some of you, is the most unsexiest of topics. But this is massive. I mean, I was talking with Sam Lubman, producer extraordinaire and host of Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys, in the back. If this feels like a bit much. It does. From what we have gathered from Jeff Darlington, ESPN, who did a hell of a job. He recorded the whole thing. He's been on top of it. And our very own Dave Fleming, by the way, helping Jeff, and Andy North. Dave Fleming, ESPN, who's been doing the coverage for ESPN Plus as well at the PGA Championship, our 95.7 The Game Giants insider, breaking it down alongside Jeff Darlington this morning. Hell of a job. But from what I have gathered and what Jeff Darlington, reporter for ESPN, has gathered, he was trying to get into the golf course, and he was very close to doing so. And the cop was like, no. You're not doing that. They didn't know who he was. Generally at these things, the golfers, the police, if there's traffic and stuff like that, generally, they see who it is, they let them through, they let them pass. Well, this time it's a little different. Why is that? There's some tension in the air. And because there was a fatality early that morning that led to all of that traffic being built up. So the police officers are a little more tense than usual, I would guess. I think that's a strong guess. I think that's kind of the fact at this point. He was pissed off. Scotty wasn't listening. And banged on his car, forced him to stop. Scotty stopped. Forced him out of the car, pushed him up against the car, put him in cuffs, and basically said, yeah, I don't care who you are, you're going to jail. As one of the officers said to Darlington, he's going to jail. Okay. I mean, he maybe drove, according to Darlington, 10 to 15 yards, like trying to get around the traffic, and that's enough to arrest the man? That is tough. That is a tough look. But nonetheless, Scotty Scheffler, and his mugshot is out there. I just retweeted it. It's just kind of a crazy story developing right now in the world of golf. And again, hats off to Jeff Darlington being right there on the scene, right up close and personal. And this is via Pat is it Pat Forty or Pat Ford? I always forget how to pronounce his last name, but senior writer, Sports Illustrated. Usually does a lot of college stuff. Scheffler was charged with second-degree assault of a police officer, third-degree criminal mischief, reckless driving, disregarding traffic signals from an officer directing traffic. He has been released on his own recognizance per reports. Okay. Second-degree assault of a police officer? What? Jeff Darlington was recording the whole thing. I did not see that. What? Third-degree criminal mischief? Reckless driving? Okay, the reckless driving, I understand. Disregarding traffic signals from an officer directing traffic? Okay. Whatever the hell criminal mischief is. But he's been released, per reports. So now you just go head back and play some golf, I guess. Hey, how was your morning, Scotty? Oh, just getting arrested, getting charged with mischief and assaulting a police officer.
Really quick, criminal mischief is often referred to as simply vandalism. So any act that could be described as defacing property with graffiti or other inscribed material, damaging or destroying any personal property, that is criminal mischief as opposed to, I guess, just normal mischief.
There you go. Like a leprechaun.
The more you know.
Like a leprechaun creating mischief, am I right? So Scotty Scheffler been released under his own recognizance. It's one of those words I don't have a lot of words that stumble me. That's one of them. But you know what? As we're talking about this morning about persevering and pushing through with Alden Smith and Alex Smith, I did that with that word. So there you go, people. All right. Scotty Scheffler, now released but charged with second-degree assault of a police officer, third-degree criminal mischief, reckless driving, disregarding traffic signals from an officer directing traffic. So we haven't heard the end of that. I'm just telling you right now, but for now, it looks like Scotty is out and will he compete now? We shall see. World number one, Scotty Scheffler. All right. I guess we talk about real sports now and what's actually happening. But first, before we get to some other things, Tom Brady, real quick, as I pivot from Scotty Scheffler to Tom Brady in the roast of Brady. He wishes he didn't do it now. Is that what I just saw from Tommy Boy? He regrets doing it because it affected the kids. Tommy, my brother, have you ever seen a roast? Like, come on. They have them on Comedy Central all the time on reruns. This is what they do. It's not just you. It's your entire family that is up for fair game. And from what I heard from the other jokes that weren't said, and from what Nikki Glazer and Jeff Ross and a bunch of others said, they could have dug deeper. But they didn't. They didn't do anything that was that wild and crazy. And also, if you're a kid, I think he's like a 14-year-old, 12, like, why are you watching that? Like, come on. Like, Tom Brady is already your dad, so people either love him or hate him. But don't watch the roast. Don't search his name on Twitter. Don't do any of that. Don't do any of that. So, Tom, a little disappointed that you regret doing the Netflix roast. You know what you signed up for? That's what happens. By the way, we're laughing at you, but really, we're all laughing with you, too. That's how those roasts go. Just laugh through it, laugh through it, laugh through it. Take your lumps. That's what it's for. Then you get the very last word. You can rip everyone else. Go Michael Scott and say, boom, roasted on everyone. And that's how you end a roast. Simple as that. And then he's like, oh, wow, Tom Brady, you know what? He can take a joke. Well, now we know that he can. A guy that can take a joke is Oreo Cookie in Oakland. Oreo, I want to get to you on the other side. We'll do that. 888-957-9570. We got one more segment before handing it off to Bonte Hill and Joe Shasky. Again, if you're just joining us, Scotty Scheffler, world number one golfer, arrested this morning in Louisville, Kentucky, en route to the second round of the PGA Championship, which is the second major in the golfing calendar. He heard he won the Masters, trying to win the PGA, gets arrested for trying to go around some traffic, gets charged, and now has been released all within the last couple hours. So we're monitoring that situation. Jeff Darlington, ESPN, breaking down the whole thing, doing a hell of a job as ESPN has the first two rounds of this event. So we'll continue to discuss that, break that down, all on a Phil Collins Friday right here on the pregame show. Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game.
Have you ever had an unwelcome pest in your home? Not fun. Atco Pest Control has been proud to provide professional pest control in the San Francisco Bay Area for
Friday. You know what that means. You get to hear the voice of Phil Collins. Again, no one rocked a receding hairline quite like Phil Collins. Elite. For a guy that's hairline is also receding, you know what? That's something I could aspire to be. And you can look at that hairline on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Search 95.7 The Game. Like, subscribe. We got one more segment before handing it off to Bonte Hill and Joe Shasky. They got a lot to talk about. Giants, Warriors, Niners. Again, great job from Will and Dibbs yesterday interviewing a plethora of guests at the Dwight Clark Legacy Series. That was a legacy series, as Matt Steinmetz would say. Real quick, before we dive back into everything, just quick update on what's going on. World number one golfer, Scottie Scheffler, arrested this morning in Louisville, Kentucky, heading into the second round of the Valhalla Golf Club, second round of the PGA Championship, I should say, at Valhalla Golf Club in Louisville. Gets arrested. There was a video. If you're trying to find that video, Jeff Darlington, ESPN, he has it on his Twitter page. You can find it there. He's since been released, charged with a multitude of things. Scottie Scheffler, he's just the most unassuming guy to do something like this. And when I say something like this, I mean, he was driving around traffic, trying to just get into a golf course, ignored, I guess, traffic signals from another officer. But this is what he was charged with. Second-degree assault of a police officer. That's the one for me where it's just like, I did not see that in the video from Jeff Darlington. That is shocking to me. Third-degree criminal mischief, reckless driving, and then again, disregarding traffic signals from an officer directing traffic. Okay. So I've caught you all up there, what's going on at the PGA Championship. But let's catch up with Oreo Cookie. From Scottie Scheffler to Oreo Cookie in Oakland. Doesn't get better than that. What's up, Oreo?
Hey, what's up, man? Maybe it's because I'm not a golf guy, but maybe it just sounds like this guy is just impatient, man. He sounded like he was stuck in some traffic jams and tried to go around it. If that's me and you doing that, we'll get the same business, man.
No, that's a fact. No, it's a fact, Oreo, but also we're not Scottie Scheffler. So usually in those situations with the courtesy car, they do allow like the pros to go into the golf club. And it sounded like he was very close to the golf club. But yeah, I just thought the whole thing feels excessive, but we'll wait and see how this plays out. He's been released now. What's going on though, Oreo? You got anything on actual sports?
Yeah, I do, man. For the saying defense wins championships, I think as far as for the NFL, I think that's over with. Just because all the teams that are going for it on fourth down, I believe that Kyle this time went with offense in the draft, and I'm hoping that Kyle is more aggressive this year. Going for it for 4th and 2 if the Super Bowl is on the line. Doing a better job of trying to get points before halftime and not relying too much on our defense. I think that saying of defense wins championships is over with.
Really? Did you watch the Super Bowl, though, Oreo Cookie? So. Did you, because those are two elite defenses going at it.
Yeah, and they canceled each other out. They both played evenly. Our defense gave up, 19 points to the best quarterback that we've seen.
They gave up one touchdown in regulation. Yeah, one touchdown, and that was because of a muffed punt. Special teams bites Shanahan again.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if we have a little bit more offense, I think we would have pulled that out. I think that's what Kyle's going with this year. Yeah, man, because like you said, both of our defenses canceled each other out. It's who made the one play on offense that made the difference. I think that's what we're shooting for.
Okay, that's Oreo Cookie out in Oakland, 888-957-9570. He doesn't believe that defense can win championships. Well, every year it's different, right? The year prior, it felt like there was no defense being played. I mean, Jalen Hurts dropped the ball in that Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Who was that? L'Jarius Sneed, whoever it was, picked it up, ran it for a touchdown, and that was the only mistake he made all game, but that was it. Sometimes it's just the small, minute details. The defenses, absolutely. The Kansas City Chiefs defense was the MVP of that game for me. They made the biggest stops in the biggest moments. Now, Patrick Mahomes, obviously, is Patrick Mahomes. But as a unit, as a collective, I thought Kansas City and that defense was incredible. So I absolutely could say and could argue that the Chiefs' defense won that championship. But Patrick Mahomes, he made the winning plays. He's the quarterback. There you go. Burns is out in Fremont, wants to join in on the conversation. What's going on, Burns?
Joseph, my man, happy Friday.
Yes, sir.
You're doing a great job. Running stuff solo, dude, is not easy, man. And you're doing it up, man. I wake up to you in the mornings, you get me going for work and stuff. But, I just want to chime in on a couple of topics you've been hitting. The Scheffler, I mean, man, does that not scream privilege, dude? I mean, come on, brother. A person has lost their life. You got to wait in traffic, man. You can't just zoom around like, I know you're the number one golfer and all, but you're just a golfer, bro, and in the grand scheme of things.
Fair enough.
The Alex Smith stuff, that really touches home with me because, personally, I'm a blue collar guy. I'm getting ready to go hit inside this construction site, but, I can never really maybe relate to a pro athlete with his money and stuff. But like when a pro athlete gets injured or something, I can relate to that, man. I've had major surgeries. I've been down on my luck like Alden Smith. That's the kind of stuff that really kind of rallies myself, personally, like, hey, other people, not, just because you're rich or you're famous, people struggle, man. And it's nice to know that, I'm not happy that they got hurt, but that, that what comes out of it, and that story from Alex Smith is, I could probably count the many times I've teared up and, it was almost like, hey man, I could feel that, and
Burns, and not to cut you off, to your point, like, it is one of the great comeback stories in sports history. Like, the guy almost died, and then he played football again. Like, it's incredible.
And the way, and you hit it right on the nail, man. It's like Niner fans treat that guy so bad, man. And it's just, all that stuff, I don't even care when you hear those kind of stories. It's like, he's a man, he fought that, and, it makes me inspired, man. It makes me be able to get up and it's like, hey, man, I ain't got it that bad. I got the use of my two legs and, and I'm ready to roll. But, again, man, happy Friday and have a great one, Joe. You're doing a great job, brother.
Appreciate you, Burns. That's Burns out in Fremont, 888-957-9570. Yeah, man. The Alex Smith, and again, if you're wondering what Burns in Fremont is referring to, Alex Smith played some of the sound earlier. Maybe I'll play one more here. Joined Will and Dibbs yesterday at the 2024 Dwight Clark Legacy Series. A lot of these guys being a part of the 49ers organization, talking about perseverance. I mean, they had guys like Brock Purdy out there yesterday, talking about perseverance, being the last pick in the NFL draft, Mr. Irrelevant. Two quarterbacks go down in front of you, and you take the team on the brink to the Super Bowl in your first year. That's incredible. You think about guys like Steve Young, who was there yesterday sitting and talking with Will and Tibbs. You think about what he had to deal with as well, being the backup to Joe freaking Montana and those shoes to fill. And then Alex Smith might have had a harder time than any of those guys, just with the amount of injuries, offensive coordinators. Colin Kaepernick takes your job. You go over to Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes takes your job. Then you get to Washington and your leg just gets eviscerated and you almost lose it and your life, and you come back to play again. It's an inspiring story of both the physical and the mental nature, which I believe are always intertwined when it comes to sports. The mental is just as big as the physical in some of these moments. Speaking of mental, real quick, because we've got a couple minutes, we haven't talked about the NBA playoffs at all. Talk about mental fortitude going up against the defending champs, and you almost lost 4 straight games. You had lost 3 straight. You're up 2-0 for the Minnesota Timberwolves against the defending champion Denver Nuggets. They could have laid down yesterday. They could have gotten down early and just folded. Instead, what did Anthony Edwards do? He put the team on his back. 115-70, the final. The Denver Nuggets scored 9 points in the fourth quarter. 9. That is smothering. The Wolves are hungry for some chicken nuggets last night. They had the hot mustard, they had the sweet and sour sauce, the ranch, and the ketchup for good measure. It's So we have a game 7 to decide who will be going and hosting game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. I can't wait for that. I thought they were done. I'll admit it. I thought Minnesota was cooked. I think a lot of people did. Because we didn't know about the mental fortitude of this young Thunder, check that, this young Timberwolves team. Having Mike Conley back, though, and you heard it from Rudy Gobert after the game, Anthony Edwards, makes a hell of a difference. Hell of a difference. Having a veteran like that, a playmaker like that, a guy you can lean on. Mentally, again, I don't think anything shakes Mike Conley. That guy always has a smile on his face, always calm, cool, collected. And you got the confidence of an Anthony Edwards oozing off of everyone. Karl Anthony Towns had a hell of a performance yesterday. That was just impressive. Now, you might lose in Denver, but that game yesterday signaled to me Minnesota's ready. They're ready. And can they snatch the souls of the defending champs on Sunday in Denver? We'll talk about it Monday. But next, Bonte Hill, Joe Shasky, Morning Roast, 95.7 The Game.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube. Powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Now it's time for the closer of the week. Presented by LiftMaster and RNS.